Today's notes are 1.4C. This is going to be level 4 on the assessment. This is literal equations with multiple steps that have when there is a variable in the denominator. If a variable is in the denominator, the first thing we want to do is eliminate that denominator. So we need to multiply both sides by the entire denominator, including the variable if it has one. When you multiply, if you're multiplying by an expression, so if the other side of the equal sign has more than one term, you're going to put parentheses around it before you multiply. If your target variable, the one you've highlighted, is inside the parentheses, you need to distribute now at this point in your steps. But if your target variable, the one you've highlighted, is outside the parentheses, then you're going to hold off on distributing until the last step. So let's look at number 1. My target variable is going to be x, so let me highlight x. My goal is to get everything away from x. However, I have a variable in the denominator on the other side, so I need to get rid of that first. I kind of want to get rid of all these fractions before I do anything else. R is in the denominator, so that means D is being divided by R. The inverse operation would be multiply by R, so that cancels out R on the right. Then I need to put parentheses around the other side because it's an expression. There's more than one term. And I will multiply this side by R. So at this point, I've got R parentheses 1 plus 3x equals D. Now, my highlighted variable, remember this is x, that's my target variable. It's inside the parentheses. So that means I'm going to distribute now. So I'm going to put a little note here. Okay, so I'm going to distribute now, since x is on the inside. So r times 1 is r, or 1r. R times 3x is 3xr equals D. Still trying to get x by itself. My next step will be to subtract r. Three xr equals D minus r. And the last step is to divide by 3r. We can divide by those at the same time because they're both being multiplied by x. We can cancel them out at the same time. So my final answer is x equals D minus r over 3r. Number 2, we are solving for x. So I'm going to highlight x in my equation. And I do have a variable in the denominator. I have y in the denominator. First thing I need to do is get it out of there. So again, the inverse operation for when you're getting rid of a denominator is going to be to multiply both sides by that variable. Cancels out on the right. Now I have yg equals negative 2 minus 2x. The next step would be to add 2. So I have yg plus 2 equals negative 2x. And the last step is divide by negative 2. Now x equals yg plus 2 over negative 2. Number 3, highlight x. That's what we're going for here. Okay, we need to get that variable out of the denominator on the right side. We can't have 2p there. So I'm going to multiply by 2p, the entire denominator. And then we need to multiply this side by 2p. We actually don't really need parentheses around that. So now it's canceled out on this side. Now we have 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4px equals 3n. Remember, I'm trying to get x by itself, so I will now divide by negative 4p, which cancels out negative 4 and p, and now x is isolated. Let's see, 3n over negative 4p. Number 4, we are solving for x. In this case, x is the target variable and it's the variable in the denominator. The steps are slightly different and you'll see why. So first thing I want to do is get x out of that denominator. So I'm going to multiply by x. The right side is an entire expression, which has to be multiplied by x. So now I have 1 equals x times negative 2d plus 2r. Now, my target variable is outside the parentheses this time. In number 1, it was inside. But when it's outside, we're going to wait to distribute. So don't distribute. Since x is on the outside. So I have x being multiplied by negative 2d plus r. The reason I don't distribute is because I can eliminate that entire expression by dividing. Since x is being multiplied by that whole expression, I can now divide by that whole expression to cancel it out. Got to make sure and do it to the right side as well. Negative 2d plus 2r. You can hear my dogs barking in the background. So x equals 1 over negative 2d plus r.